The sun hung low over the city of Luminera, casting long shadows across the gleaming glass and steel buildings that lined its busiest streets. Like, subscribe, and comment your thoughts on this eye-opening lesson in respect and integrity. Among them, Elysian Autos stood as a beacon of luxury, a dealership known for its exclusive clientele and high-end vehicles. Inside, the polished floors reflected the glow of carefully positioned showroom lights, highlighting the sleek cars displayed with an almost reverent precision. A man stepped out of a modest SUV parked discreetly at the far end of the lot. His movements were unhurried, his demeanor relaxed. Yet there was an undeniable presence about him. Dressed in a simple black t-shirt, worn jeans, and a weathered leather jacket, he was an anomaly in a place that catered to tailored suits and designer handbags. Keanu Reeves took a slow breath, allowing the atmosphere to settle around him. This was not just any dealership, it was his dealership, one he had recently acquired, albeit discreetly. Today was not about being recognized or celebrated as the new owner. It was about observing, about understanding. As he approached the entrance, he caught sight of a few employees engaged in conversation. Laughter drifted through the glass doors, casual and easy. A good sig. The moment he stepped inside, the temperature shift was stark, from the warmth of the evening air to the crisp, controlled coolness of the showroom. The scent of polished leather and fresh wax hung in the air, a signature of high-end car dealerships. The hum of conversation faltered slightly, just for a second, as his presence was noted. A glance here, a mo. A woman of sharp angles and sharper instincts, Zara had built her reputation on efficiency and an almost sixth sense for clientele. She could spot a serious buyer the moment they walked through the door and dismiss a time waster just as quickly. Her fitted blazer and neatly pressed skirt spoke of meticulousness, her clipped stride exuding control. She approached him with measured politeness, clipboard in hand, eyes scanning him with a practiced gaze. "Excuse me," she said, her tone professionally neutral, though tinged with assessment. "Can I assist you with something?" Keanu offered an easy smile. "Just looking around." Her gaze flicked over his attire. Casual, unremarkable, not the usual kind that walked in expecting to leave with the keys to a luxury car. "Are you looking for a specific model?" she asked, still polite but less engaged than before. Keanu shrugged. "Something sleek, something that handles well." Zara hesitated, then returned his smile, but it was thinner this time, more calculated. "Most of our vehicles require pre-qualification. May I ask about your budget?" A direct question, but laced with assumption. Keanu nodded, noting her shift in tone. "Let's just say I have some flexibility." There it was, a flicker of doubt in her eyes, the kind that said, "Sure you do." Before she could continue, a voice from across the showroom interrupted. "Zara, the delivery guy's at the back entrance." She turned slightly, acknowledging the message, then returned her attention to Keanu. There was a subtle change now, as if she had already categorized him. Not a priority. Keanu watched her, amused yet disappointed. "You seem to be assuming I might not qualify for what you sell here," he said casually. Her brows lifted slightly, though she recovered quickly. "Not at all," she said smoothly. "I just like to ensure customers find options within their range. We do offer a selection of pre-owned vehicles that might interest you." Keanu chuckled softly, shaking his head. "I appreciate the recommendation." Zara, missing or ignoring the undertone, nodded briskly. "I'll grab a few listings for you." She turned and walked away, leaving Keanu standing amid a sea of high-end cars, the weight of unspoken judgment lingering in the air. This was going to be an interesting day. Keanu ran a hand over the sleek hood of a nearby sports car, the metallic paint catching the light just right. The vehicle was a masterpiece. Precision engineering, luxury, power. He imagined how different Zara's approach would have been if he had walked in wearing a tailored suit, Rolex glinting under the showroom lights. From across the room, a younger employee whispered something to a colleague, both glancing in his direction. He could feel the subtle shift in energy around him, judgment wrapped in polite disinterest. Zara returned, clipboard in hand, a neatly printed list of vehicles clipped to the top. She handed it to him with a well-practiced smile. "Here are a few options that might be more suitable." Keanu unfolded the paper, scanning the offerings. Used sedans, mid-range SUVs, a hybrid compact. All solid choices for someone looking to save on gas mileage, not someone browsing in one of the city's most prestigious luxury dealerships. He chuckled under his breath, folding the paper and slipping it into his jacket pocket. You really think these are the best options for me? Zara's smile wavered just a fraction. I believe in being realistic with my customers, she said smoothly. Elysian Autos specializes in high-end luxury vehicles. Our clientele is... She paused for the briefest of moments, choosing her words carefully. A particular kind of buyer. I just want to make sure we find the right fit for your situation. My situation, Keanu repeated, arching an eyebrow. Zara maintained her professional stance, but there was a flicker of impatience behind her eyes. Look, I've been doing this a long time, she said. I can usually tell when someone is just browsing versus someone who's ready to make a serious purchase. Keanu exhaled softly, hands sliding into his pockets. And what is it about me that makes you so sure I'm not a serious buyer? Her expression didn't change, but her silence spoke volumes. He let the moment stretch before nodding. All right, he said. Then maybe I should just speak with the owner. Zara blinked, momentarily caught off guard. The owner? She let out a soft chuckle, shaking her head. That's not really how things work. Our owner doesn't handle walk-ins. They're a very busy person. I'm sure they are, Keanu said evenly, but maybe you should give them a call. Let them know I'm here. The first sign of real annoyance crossed her face. Sir, she said, voice clipped, I don't think that's necessary. If you'd like to schedule an appointment with one of our sales consultants, I'd be happy to arrange that. Otherwise, you're going to ask me to leave, Keanu finished for her, his tone calm but firm. Zara hesitated for half a second. I just think your time would be better spent elsewhere. A slow smile spread across Keanu's face as he reached into his pocket and pulled out his phone. That's fair, he said, unlocking the screen. I'll make the call myself. A shadow of uncertainty passed over Zara's features. Who exactly are you calling? Keanu didn't answer immediately. He tapped a contact, lifted the phone to his ear, and turned slightly away. Hey, he said after a moment. Yeah, I'm at the dealership. There's been a bit of a misunderstanding. Could you let them know I'm here? Zara's frown deepened, confusion flickering across her face. Around them, a few employees had paused their tasks, their curiosity piqued by the unusual exchange. Keanu ended the call and slipped his phone back into his pocket. They'll be here shortly, he said simply. Zara crossed her arms, shifting uncomfortably. Who exactly did you just call? Keanu didn't answer. He glanced around the showroom, taking in the tension building in the room. Employees whispered amongst themselves, trying to piece together what was unfolding before them. Then the front door swung open. A sharply dressed man strode in, navy suit tailored to perfection, polished shoes clicking against the floor with purpose. His expression was professional, but there was warmth in his eyes as he spotted Keanu. Mr. Reeves, the man said with a broad smile, extending a hand. Good to see you. Keanu shook his hand firmly. Lysander, appreciate you coming. The room seemed to still. Zara's clipboard nearly slipped from her fingers. Her gaze darted between Keanu and Lysander, her face draining of color. Wait, Mr. Reeves, she echoed, voice unsteady. Lysander turned to her, the warmth in his eyes fading into something more serious. Zara, he said evenly, I see you've already met our new owner. Silence fell like a heavy curtain. Zara opened her mouth, then closed it. Lysander sighed, rubbing his temple briefly before looking back at Keanu. I trust this wasn't the welcome you were expecting? Keanu gave a small shrug. Let's just say it was enlightening. Lysander exhaled, turning back to Zara. We need to talk, now. Keanu held up a hand. Actually, he said, voice calm but firm, let's talk to everyone. I think it's time we had a discussion about the way things work around here. The dealership employees, some still in shock, others visibly nervous, exchanged glances as Keanu motioned toward the conference room. It was time to have a conversation they wouldn't forget. The employees shuffled into the sleek, glass-walled conference room, their usual confidence dulled by the weight of uncertainty. The space, designed for high-stakes negotiations and strategy meetings, now felt more like a courtroom. Keanu stood near the head of the long table, hands casually in his pockets, while Lysander remained near the door, arms crossed. Zara hesitated before taking a seat at the far end, her usual sharp demeanor replaced with nervous stillness. A few other employees sat in silence, eyes darting between Keanu and their manager, unsure of what to expect. Keanu let the silence stretch for a moment before he finally spoke. "Thank you all for joining me on short notice," he said, his voice calm but firm. "For those of you who don't know, my name is Keanu Reeves, and I'm the new owner of Elysian Autos." A murmur rippled through the room. Some employees sat up straighter, a few exchanged nervous glances, while others simply looked stunned. Keanu continued, his expression unreadable. "I came in today as a customer, not as a celebrity, not as a billionaire, just a guy walking into a dealership. I wanted to see how this place runs when no one's expecting a VIP." He let that sink in before adding, "And what I experienced was interesting." The weight of his words made the air feel heavier. Zara shifted uncomfortably, but she said nothing. "I was judged," Keanu continued, his voice measured, "not by my knowledge of cars, not by my questions, but by how I looked." A younger employee, a sales associate named Trix, hesitated before raising a hand. Keanu nodded toward him. "Go ahead." "Mr. Reeves, I think most of us try to treat customers fairly," Trix said cautiously. "But sometimes, sometimes we make assumptions." Keanu nodded. "I get that," he said. "We all have biases, whether we like to admit it or not. But here's the thing. It's not enough to just try to be fair. We have to actively challenge those biases. We have to create an environment where everyone who walks through that door is treated with the same level of respect." A few employees nodded in agreement. Others sat quietly processing his words. Keanu turned his gaze toward Zara. "You're one of the senior managers here. You've built a career in this business. Do you think what happened today represents the kind of dealership we want to run?" Zara hesitated, then exhaled, her voice barely above a whisper. "No." Keanu tilted his head slightly. "And why do you think that is?" She swallowed hard before answering. "Because I made a mistake," she admitted. "I misjudged you, and for that I'm truly sorry." Keanu studied her for a moment before nodding. "Thank you for saying that." He turned back to the rest of the room. "But this isn't just about me. It's about every person who walks in here, every customer who doesn't fit into some predefined mold of what a luxury car buyer should look like." A deeper silence settled over the room. Keanu leaned forward slightly, his voice steady but carrying weight. "Elysian Autos has a reputation for excellence. But excellence isn't just about the cars we sell. It's about the experience we provide. And that experience needs to be built on respect, inclusivity, and fairness." He straightened, looking around the room. "That's why, starting today, we're making some changes. New training programs, a new approach to customer service, and a shift in the way we define professionalism." Lysander, still standing by the door, nodded approvingly. Keanu's gaze landed on Zara again. "I want to give you the opportunity to be a part of that change," he said. "But accountability comes first. We'll have a separate meeting to discuss next steps." Zara nodded, her face still flushed, but her posture a little straighter. "I understand," she said, "and I want to do better." Keanu offered a small nod before addressing the entire team. "If anyone here has an issue with treating every customer with the same level of respect, now's the time to speak up." Silence. Keanu let it linger before finally saying, "Good, then let's get to work." The tension in the room shifted, replaced with something new: determination. The employees began to file out, their expressions a mix of reflection and resolve. As Zara lingered near the door, she hesitated before stepping closer to Keanu. "Mr. Reeves, I just wanted to say thank you for giving me a chance to fix this." Keanu looked at her for a long moment before responding, his voice steady. "Actions speak louder than words, Zara. But I believe people can change, if they're willing to." She nodded, determination flashing in her eyes. "I am." Keanu watched her leave before turning to Lysander. "Let's set up a meeting next week," he said. "I want to make sure everyone knows what's expected moving forward." Lysander grinned. "You got it, boss." As Keanu stepped back into the showroom, he glanced at the cars. their gleaming surfaces reflecting the afternoon light. He thought about how much work lay ahead, but for the first time that day, he felt something new: optimism. This wasn't just about running a dealership, it was about creating something bigger, and Keanu was ready to lead the way. The next week at Elysian Autos was different. There was a shift in the air, not just among the employees, but in the way customers were greeted, in the way conversations unfolded on the showroom floor. The silent judgments, the careful dismissals, the subtle biases. Keanu was determined to uproot all of it. He wasn't naive. Change wouldn't happen overnight. But small victories mattered. One of those victories came on a quiet afternoon when Keanu noticed Zara speaking with a new customer, a young artist dressed in casual attire, not too different from how he had looked that day. Keanu leaned against a nearby pillar, watching. Zara's posture was different, less rigid, more open. She listened, truly listened, as the young man described what he was looking for. Instead of assumptions, she asked questions. Instead of dismissing him, she guided him through the options with genuine interest. It was a start. Keanu wasn't just here to own a dealership. He was here to change the way things worked, from the inside out. Word of his unexpected visit spread quickly, not just within the dealership, but beyond. Local news outlets picked up on the story. Community leaders praised the message behind it. Schools began using it as a case study to discuss bias and the importance of treating people with respect, regardless of their appearance. It became bigger than Elysian Autos. The lesson carried weight. It made people pause and reflect on the way they treated others, on how quick they were to judge, how easy it was to dismiss someone based on a glance. For Keanu, that was the real success. He wasn't just running a business, he was shaping a culture. And he knew that moving forward, Elysian Autos would stand for more than just luxury cars. It would stand for integrity, for respect, for the idea that everyone, regardless of how they looked, what they wore, or where they came from, deserved to be treated with dignity. And that was worth more than any car in the showroom. A month had passed since Keanu's unexpected visit to Elysian Autos, and the changes he had set in motion were beginning to take root. The shift wasn't just in policy, it was in the mindset of the employees. Customers who might have once been ignored or dismissed were now treated with genuine attentiveness. Sales associates took the time to ask the right questions, to engage, to see beyond the surface. Zara, in particular, had transformed. She no longer scanned customers with a silent checklist of who was worth her time. She listened, she advised, and as a result, her sales had actually increased because customers trusted her now. Keanu had continued to check in, not as the owner overseeing operations, but as a presence. He watched, he observed, and when necessary, he stepped in, not to correct, but to guide. One afternoon, as he walked through the showroom, he noticed a man standing near the entrance. The guy looked uncertain, out of place, shifting his weight as if debating whether to step inside. His clothes were worn but clean, his sneakers slightly scuffed. A few months ago, someone like him might have been overlooked. But before Keanu could move, Zara was already walking over. "Hi there," she greeted, her tone warm. "Can I help you find something today?" The man hesitated, glancing around at the gleaming vehicles. I don't know if I can afford anything here. I was just looking." "Looking's a great place to start," Zara said with an encouraging smile. "Why don't we figure out what you need? There's a lot we can do to work within different budgets." Keanu watched, a small smile tugging at the corner of his lips. Zara had come a long way. And then, as if sensing his gaze, she glanced over her shoulder and met his eyes. There was a flicker of something, understanding, maybe even gratitude. Keanu gave her a subtle nod before walking toward his office. Change wasn't just happening, it was lasting. And that was the kind of legacy he wanted to build.